Look, if you're thinking about moving to Sacramento, let's make sure you don't end up in the wrong neighborhood because choosing the wrong area can cost you big time, especially if it comes to things like commute times, lifestyle, or even your resale value. Every commute, every weekend, and heck, even your 20-minute bubble. Picking the right area for you and your family can mean the difference between happiness or disaster. The Sacramento Metro is huge, from city neighborhoods to suburban sweet spots, master plan communities, new construction, rural acreage, and everything in between. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through every major Sacramento area from the city to the suburbs, and heck, even some of those foothill towns that make Northern California different than anywhere else in the world. We are going to cover each of these areas, what's actually best for you, and the biggest trade-offs that could surprise you if you're relocating here for the very first time. Hey, and if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Lance with the Living in Sacramento team, where Lauren and I help people relocate to the greater Sacramento Metro the right way by giving you boots on the ground videos of what it's really like to live in each one of these areas. And as much as we love making these videos for you guys, we actually love helping you more with all of your real estate needs. So if you're planning on making a move in the next 12 days or the next 12 months, feel free to book a free 30-minute Zoom call with either one of us so we can help you nail down what's most important to you about builders, neighborhoods, options, and put together a customized game plan for your move. So that phone number is going to be popping up. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, or our contact information is going to be down in the description and pinned in the chat. Now, we've had a lot of new subscribers to the channel, and it's been a minute since we've done one of these full map tour videos. But before we talk neighborhoods, we need to pull up the map and we need to point out some big points of reference or some anchor points. Sacramento is a giant wheel or a giant spoke, and your daily life rides on one of 4 or 5 major corridors. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you 4 or 5 different spokes that are going to be different corridors. And we're also going to talk about the 5 different decision sliders that change how life really feels and how long your commute actually takes. Now, if you skip this section, you might be shopping in the wrong zip code altogether for what your family needs. All right, so jumping in on the map here real quick, we're gonna zoom in. A couple of major points of reference that you guys are gonna need to know as it relates to the greater Sacramento Metro. So we really have 4 major anchor cities. Obviously, you guys are reaching out to us because of the Living in Sacramento channel, but we do have 3 other cities that are also going to have a lot of different amenities, a lot of different restaurants, a lot of different things that you can do. So the first one that you always hear us talk about on the channel is going to be Roseville. Roseville is going to be one of the major anchor cities that's going to be along the 80 corridor that we're going to talk a little bit later in the video. The next one is going to be Folsom, and Folsom is going to be another one of those anchor cities that's going to be along the 50 corridor as you're heading up towards east, towards South Lake Tahoe, towards all the ski resorts, Sierra Nevada foothills. Now, the third one that we're going to touch on is going to be south of Sacramento, and that one's going to be Elk Grove. Now, Elk Grove is going to be the second largest city behind Sacramento. It's also going to have a lot of amenities, a lot of restaurants, a lot of variety, house variety, school variety, a lot of those things that we're going to touch on today. But these are going to be our 4 major anchor cities. I grew up in Fair Oaks, Orangeville area, so every time I would go out to dinner, every time I'd go out on a date night in my early 20s, I would most likely go to Folsom because Folsom just had more restaurant options. Same thing when people live in Citrus Heights, or they live in Antelope, or they live in one of these smaller suburbs that are in between one of these 4 anchor cities. Usually you tend to gravitate towards one of the neighboring anchor cities that are going to have a lot of restaurant options, a lot of activity options for the families. It's going to have different things from Topgolfs to water parks to going to Folsom Lake. So a lot of this stuff we're going to touch on, but those are going to be your 4 major anchor cities. So starting off first is going to be the Sacramento International Airport. Now, the Sacramento International Airport is going to be our major airport. A lot of you guys who are coming into town from out of state, out of country, most likely you're going to fly into Sacramento International Airport. Every once in a while, we get some people that want to fly into SFO or San Francisco or Oakland even. Heck, you can even go into Reno. Reno's an international airport right now, but Sacramento is going to be your best bet if you're flying in from out of state or if you're flying in from out of country. Sacramento International Airport is going to be located towards the northwest corner of the Sacramento area. It's going to be kind of out in some farm fields. It's going to look like you're flying into the middle of nowhere, kind of the middle of the country, kind of a lot of farm fields, a lot of rivers that are going to be around Sacramento International Airport. So keep that in mind. It is out in the middle of nowhere for the most part. It is close to a couple of cities that we'll talk about here in a second. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off by talking about some of these spokes, some of these corridors that we've mentioned on the channel before. So you've got Sacramento kind of dead center in the middle. Now, for the most part, you are going to have 4 or 5 major freeways that are going to contribute to the day-to-day lifestyle, especially if you're talking about commuting, especially if you're talking about one of those 5 sliders that we're going to touch on here in a second. So the first one that we always touch on is coming in from the north is going to be Interstate 5. Interstate 5 is going to take you right in front of the Sacramento International Airport. It's going to come all the way down along the west side of Sacramento. It's going to kind of curve along with the river, and it's going to go all the way south, all the way down to Southern California, Los Angeles, and everywhere down south. It's going to take you through the Central Valley. Now, we're also going to have Highway 99, which is going to come from the north. It's going to come from kind of like primarily that Plumas Lake, Yuba City, Marysville area that we featured on the channel before, where you can find some great homes in the low to mid 400K range. And it's going to connect you back after you kind of make it through downtown. The Highway 99 is also going to go all the way south down into Southern California, and eventually kind of in Bakersfield right before you get to the Grapevine. Those two connect. Now from west to east or east to west, let's kind of go from east to west. Coming from the Reno area, Auburn, you're going to take Interstate 80, and this is going to come all the way into Sacramento. Now there is going to be 2 versions of Interstate 80. One's going to be I-80 going around Sacramento. The other one's going to be Business 80, which is going to take you through the front side of it. But ultimately, what's going to happen is Business 80 is going to connect into Highway 99. Interstate 80 is going to go around down into West Sacramento. It's going to come up into Interstate 80 that's going to take you all the way to the Bay Area, all the way to San Francisco, Oakland, Pleasanton. You can go down to San Jose that way, but that's going to take you all the way into the San Francisco Bay Area. Then you've got Highway 50, which is going to come down from Placerville. Primarily, you're going to see Highway 50 go all the way up to about Lake Tahoe, and it's going to come all the way in through Rancho Cordova and down into downtown Sacramento. And eventually, once you get past and through downtown Sacramento, it's going to merge into Interstate 80, and it's all going to take you towards the Bay Area. And then you have this one little random kind of freeway, Highway 16. It's more of a highway than it is a freeway, and that's going to take you out towards Amador County, Jackson, Sutter Creek, a lot of great wineries, a lot of great stuff that's up there. And then one more honorable mention is going to be Highway 65. This freeway is not very fun. It's very congested, it's very backed up, and it's only gotten worse since we moved out of there in 2017. Highway 65 is another way that you can get north up towards Yuba City, Marysville, Wheatland, in through Lincoln. It's just right here in this section. We'll touch on it a little bit later, but there is some congestion that you deal with. So those are going to be primarily the 4 or 5 spokes to this wheel that's going to take you all the way into the center of Sacramento. So in today's video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start off in the core nucleus of this video. We're going to touch on the urban, then we're going to touch on the things that are just outside of the urban downtown areas, and then we're going to talk about the corridors, and then heck, we're even going to talk about some of the honorable mentions kind of in the foothills on the 80 corridor, foothills on the 50 corridor, and we're going to talk a little bit about some college towns here at the end. So the first thing that we're going to do before we jump into the core nucleus of kind of Sacramento and we start going from city to suburbs to kind of the foothill corridors is we really want to focus on these 5 sliders. Now the 5 sliders are going to be super important before we pick any neighborhoods, before we pick any houses, because this is really what's ultimately going to come down to your biggest success on making the move to the Sacramento area. We have a lot of people that start off on Zillow or homes.com or realtor.com, and they start searching websites. Now while all of that's fun, a lot of times people are choosing houses based off of price and not based off of lifestyle, not based off of what you guys actually like to do. Now the first slider that we really want to touch on is going to be your commute. Which corridor do you actually want to drive? You're going to have Highway 80 that's going to take you between Auburn all the way into Sacramento, and you're going to hit places along the way like Lincoln, Rockland, Roseville, Antelope, North Highlands, Rio Linda. There's a lot of different options on there. You're going to have 50 that's going to take you from Placerville all the way into Sacramento. You're going to have Shingle Springs, Cameron Park, El Dorado Hills, Folsom, Gold River, Rancho Cordova, and parts of Sacramento. Then you're gonna have Highway 99 and Interstate 5. Whether you're coming from the north or the south side, you can be coming from Elk Grove in through South Sacramento, or you can be coming from Natomas over by the airports. Now, typically, if you can avoid it, avoiding 45-minute plus commutes when you're coming to a brand new area and you're away from your family or your friends, that cannot be ideal. So that's gonna be one of the things that we talk about. Some of you guys are blessed with remote work, but that's gonna be number one. Number two is gonna be lifestyle. Do you want urban walkability? Do you want suburban convenience? Or do you want space and acreage? Sometimes with this category, we're also talking about personal hobbies and activities. We have a lot of people that like to go up to the Sierra Nevadas. We have a lot of people that like to go skiing, snowboarding. We have a lot of people who like to go out to Folsom Lake, or they go to Lake Natoma for some boating or some paddle boarding or kayaking. So your hobbies and activities and the things that you do outside of work are also going to be wildly important. Third on the list for a lot of people is going to be school districts. Our area is really blessed with some very good public school districts, but our school districts are assigned based off of your neighborhood and your address. So districts and boundary lines and tiny lines, shifts between neighborhoods, street to street, they can make a massive difference. So if you are particular on certain school scores, or you want your kids to go to certain areas, we got to make sure that we're also looking in some of those areas that match with what your goals are, as well as what your budget is. Now, budget is going to be number 4, and we're going to give you a realistic range for each of these corridors and each of these cities that are going to happen on this corridor. But ultimately, we're going to want to make a good blend of your lifestyle, hobbies, and activities, minimizing your commute as much as possible, incorporating some of those school scores if that's important to you and that's a season of your life that you're in right now, and then obviously sticking towards your budget. Now, the last one and the fifth one doesn't always come up for some of you guys, but you know, there is a distinct camp between new construction people and people who want more established neighborhoods with bigger lots. So usually you get one or the other, but you don't get both. So we will touch on some of the 6 hottest areas where we're seeing new construction being built in the greater Sacramento metro, but we're also going to touch on some of the other areas that are a little bit more mature, that offer you a little bit more space and yards, and they're not kind of on top of each other like a lot of these builders are doing. So once we lock in our corridor, once we lock in those 5 sliders, everything else gets easier. So now once you have some of these questions answered, you can figure out what section or what corridor is going to make the most sense, and that compass is going to be set. So we're going to walk and talk each area. We're going to kind of plug in, drop the pin down in some of the maps, and we're going to talk about which areas could be best for you, what some of the trade-offs are, and some easy mistakes to avoid. All right, so jumping on in, first and foremost is going to be kind of our urban core and historic neighborhoods. Now, this section is going to be anybody who's craving walkability, character, or they want quick city access. Now, this is going to be Sacramento's urban core and some of our most historic neighborhoods. So some of these areas will be perfect for some and not so perfect for others. So keep these things in mind as we're covering these real quick. So starting off, the urban core, or kind of like the downtown historic neighborhoods. So you're gonna have Interstate 5 that's gonna run along the west side of Sacramento. You're also gonna see kind of the city line that's gonna be kind of here along the Sacramento River. So really the two go hand in hand. You're also going to have the American River, which is going to border the north side of our downtown, midtown area. You're going to have Business 80 over here on the east side of Sacramento, and you're also going to have Highway 50 over on the south side. So really that downtown, midtown area is going to be kind of that urban central location, right? So you're going to have 16 and 15 streets that are going to run kind of parallel to each other. And these 2 streets are going to separate downtown from midtown, right? So if you want walkability, nightlife, low maintenance living, the downtown area might be your zone. Now we're talking about Doco Commons, we're talking about Golden One Center, we're talking about ice blocks, R Street, you know, low maintenance living, coffee shops, breweries, second story patios, farmers markets, Golden One Center shows. It's all going to be a few blocks away. You know, it's going to be really good for kind of like the younger family, the younger professionals that want to kind of lock and leave lifestyles where they have no yard work and they have nothing that they got to do. You know, you do have to deal with some, you know, climbing up some flights of stairs with groceries, but you know, you can find a mix of condos and townhomes in this area. Then you're going to have Midtown. Now, Midtown is going to be everything that's going to be to the east side of that red line, and Midtown is going to feel slightly different, slightly similar, but you are going to have some vintage cottages, some Victorians that are going to be kind of in downtown, midtown area. So, you know, trade-offs, you are going to have some HOA fees, you are going to have some street parking realities that are going to be kind of unfortunate. You're going to have weekend noise near hotspots, but you know, it is one of those things where Everything is walkable, everything is scooterable, everything you can ride a bike to. And reality is, if you don't have to leave downtown for any kind of other work, you got the state capitol, you've got Golden One, and you've got a lot of jobs, tech, and everything that's going to be in downtown Sacramento. So you are going to find a lot of condos that are going to sit somewhere between like that 400 and 600, maybe 700K range. You are going to have a lot of single family homes that are going to, you know, range wildly. Some of them are going to be renovated, some of them are not, and some of them are going to kind of climb to that like $900 to $1 million range. You're also going to see a lot of people who have come in as investors and they've taken some of these older Victorian homes or some of these older historic homes, and they've renovated them, and they've taken a single family home and they've turned them into a 2-plex, 3-plex, or a 4-plex home. So, you know, definitely some of those things that are not ideal for a lot of people, but if garage and a big yard are non-negotiable for you, you'll probably outgrow downtown and midtown pretty fast. But it's definitely kind of easy when you want to pivot to one of the other kind of core nucleus of these neighborhoods. Now, the next section moving just east of Business 80 is going to be East Sacramento. So we'll go ahead and zoom in here just a little bit quicker so we can kind of see East Sacramento. But East Sacramento is going to be Charm Central, right? So East Sacramento is going to also be bordered by the American River over here on the north side. It's going to kind of cut off over by Sac State. You're going to have Highway 50 on the south side, and you're going to have Business 80 that's going to be over on the west side. So really everything on the east side of Business 80 is going to be considered East Sacramento. So you're going to have some of the traditional ones like the Fab 40s, which you're going to have those beautiful shade canopy sycamore trees. You're going to have porch culture, architecture variety from bungalow to Tudor custom to craftsman, an easy walk, easy bike to parks and cafes. You also have another one of my favorite neighborhoods, which is going to be River Park up here, which is super cool. A lot of good breweries down there. So the cool thing about East Sacramento is there is going to always be something to do because you're super close in proximity to downtown Sacramento, midtown Sacramento. Again, short scooter ride, maybe a short bike ride. You probably wouldn't want to walk from parts of East Sacramento to downtown, but you technically could if you wanted to. But over in East Sacramento, you are going to be dealing with some premium pricing. You are going to be dealing with a little bit older of a home and older systems. You can deal with some smaller lots, and your inspection strategy is definitely going to matter here. So in East Sacramento, you're going to have a lot of single family homes, and some of those single family homes are going to range anywhere from the low 800s all the way up to $2 million plus in the Fab 40s. So depending on size, depending on street, it's definitely going to be one of those things that you'll want to consider. Your price per square foot in this particular area of Sacramento is going to be extremely high. So you might find a 3-1 or a 2-1 like cottage bungalow house that's going to be about 1,000 square feet, but it also can be $600,000 or $700,000. So you're paying for convenience, you're paying for proximity to downtown Sacramento, and it's super close, and it's definitely more of like a vibe. Now, moving a little bit south, closer to proximity to the neighborhoods in Sacramento, you're gonna have places like Land Park, Curtis Park, and Tahoe Park. All of these are gonna be on the south side of Highway 50, all the way till you get to about Sac State again. Tahoe Park is gonna be over here on the right-hand side, close to UC Davis Med Center. Southland Park is going to be over here on the right hand side. You're going to have Southland and Land Park, and it's going to go all the way up to Broadway or the Highway 50. And then you're going to have Curtis Park, which is going to be just right of Land Park. Now, Land Park is going to be classic Sacramento. Bigger lots, storybook streets, quick access to downtown. You know, Curtis Park is going to feel similar. You're going to have craftsman charm, leafy block streets near the namesake park. And then you're going to have Tahoe Park, which is going to have some mid-century bungalows, cottages, good neighborhood vibe, and all of it's going to be close to UC Davis Med Center. So Sac State access is going to be easy. Active community parks is going to be easy, but sometimes we get some of you guys who are specifically getting relocated here to work at the UC Davis Med Center, which is actually going to be located, if we zoom in a little bit, the UC Davis Med Center is going to be located just south of Highway 50, a little bit closer to kind of like Tahoe Park and Oak Park. This is a great proximity if you want to be close to the UC Davis Med Center. We also have another hospital that's going to be over in East Sacramento as well too. So depending on the company, depending on what job you're getting transferred here for, but proximity wise, you know, you're going to be dealing with a less than 5 to 10 minute commute just getting across town. Character and calmer streets, minutes from the core, but Tahoe Park is definitely going to add some starter kind of friendly character close to the hospital. So again, some of the trade-offs in this south section of Highway 50, you're still dealing with older homes. You still want to budget for sewer scopes or roof checks or replacements, and just some of those vintage quirks or sometimes dated homes, right? So sometimes you're buying the character of the neighborhood. Some of these homes have been updated, some of these homes haven't been updated, and sometimes in places like Tahoe Park, the inventory can be a little bit more tighter block to block. So in this land park area, you're going to kind of want to expect maybe somewhere between 800K to 1.6 million, depending on the size and the street and your proximity to the park. Curtis Park over to the right, you're probably going to be dealing with 700 to maybe 1.2 for an updated craftsman or a Spanish style home. And then Tahoe Park may be a little bit more affordable. You're going to find some more things kind of in that mid to high 500 range, all the way up to the low 800K range based off of updates and proximity to the med center. Now, if you want to have that city vibe without that condo life, you definitely want to put East Sac Land Park, Curtis Park, or possibly even Tahoe Park on your next tour list. But next up, we're going to head in every direction outside of the core nucleus to talk about areas like West Sacramento, Natomas, the Pocket, and even Arden Park. Now here you're going to find newer homes. Some of them are going to have great airport access, and some of them are just going to make total sense for proximity to downtown from a commuting standpoint. Now this next section is all going to be about proximity and practicality. So the spots just north, east, west, and south of downtown Sacramento, or south of those neighborhoods that we just talked about, is where you're going to get quick city access, airport convenience, and you're going to get some newer builds. You're going to get some tree line classics, but we're going to show you where some of these areas are best for, what some of the homes look like, the trade-offs to watch out for, a quick price field just so you can get a quick reality check. But we're going to start up north, and then we're going to work our way around the clock, or work our way around the spoke. So the first one that we're going to talk about is going to be up north near the Sacramento International Airport, and that's going to be Natomas. Now Natomas is going to win on airport access hands down, and the value for newer homes. So you are going to have a North Natomas and a South Natomas. That's all going to be about a quick 10 to 15 minute drive into downtown Sacramento, kind of down Interstate 5. So certain areas will be quicker. South Natomas is going to be split by Interstate 80, and then North Natomas is going to be north of Interstate 80. And really you're going to have some stuff that's going to be above the river over here, and then you're going to have some stuff that's going to be over on the riverside. Now North Natomas has layers in parks, trail loops, and active master plan communities. This is one area that's not a part of the 6 that we're going to touch on, but they are having active new construction that's going to be kind of more up here towards the north, where we featured some tri-point homes. But you know, to be entirely honest, the Natomas area is going to be best for I-5, I-80 commuters, frequent flyers, families chasing parks, and newer builds. But you know, here, some parts of the North Natomas section, you are going to have some Mellorews, you are going to have some HOAs. The downside is you might also have some flight patterns that are coming into Sacramento International Airport. I know even from us living in Roseville, certain parts, we were hearing some of the flight patterns. And some of the stuff that's going to be on the west side of Interstate 5, you might have a chance for some flood insurance. So just keep that in mind. We are a little bit closer to the river, but it's just one of those things that we might want to verify prior to you falling in love with your dream home. Now, many of the single family homes in Natomas, you can find some stuff that's going to be in the low 500s, but a lot of it's going to start off in the mid 500s and go up to the mid 800s, depending on age, size, and location, depending on if you're in the north side or the south side. Now, coming over to the east side of the clock, just outside of East Sacramento on the other side of the American River, is you're gonna have places like Arden Arcade, Arden Park, Sierra Oaks, Campus Commons. You're also gonna have suburbs like Carmichael, Fair Oaks, and Orangevale. These East Central classic homes are gonna bring you big trees, they're gonna have established streets, and we're gonna have a wide range of home styles, from mid-century ranch styles to luxury river adjacent pockets. You're gonna have a mix of everything. Now, the one thing that I will say, and I'll touch on this just a little bit right here, but in my opinion, if you don't have a specific job lined up, or you don't have a specific place that you have to attend work to, this can be a great section for people who are undecided on where they're gonna work. I feel like this section between Interstate 80 all the way into Sacramento, all the way back up to Folsom, that pocket is probably going to provide you the most central location if you've got to go any which direction. Whether you got to go to the foothills, you want to go skiing, snowboarding, you need to go down into Sacramento for work. You really have a good blend and a good mix, and you have easy access to both the 80 and the 50 freeways. But first and foremost, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's kind of talk about some of the cities and suburbs closest to Sacramento, and then move out towards some of the ones that are going to be in the suburbs. So first, you're gonna have kind of like the Arden Arcade area, and this is going to be the area that's going to be pretty close in proximity to Sacramento State University. So for any of you students who are coming into Sacramento for that particular reason, things in that area can tend to be, more college centric. You're gonna have a lot of different restaurants, a lot of different options. You're gonna have the Arden Fair Mall, you're gonna have Cal Expo, you got some movie theaters down there. But as it relates to neighborhoods, you've got Arden Arcade up here, you've got Sierra Oaks down here, Campus Commons over here, and you're gonna have like things like Wilhagen Estates, Wellington Estates, you got Jesuit High School, which is a private all-boys Catholic high school. So you've got a lot of really good neighborhoods that are still within the city limits of Sacramento, but they're just on that other side of the American River. So everything from mid-century to luxury near the river is going to be probably a little bit more expensive if you start looking at things that are going to be south of Fair Oaks Boulevard. Campus Commons, you'll find townhomes and condos near Sac State and the American River, low maintenance living with green space. And then as we start to move out a little bit further, then you're going to start having suburbs like Carmichael, Fair Oaks, and Orangevale, right? So Carmichael will be the closest one to Sacramento, then you have Fair Oaks, and then you're going to have Orangevale up here. And all three of those are going to be similar but wildly different. So you're going to have a lot of larger lots. You're going to have a lot more mature neighborhoods. Each neighborhood and each house isn't going to be cookie cutter. And the nice thing is you're going to be close in proximity to certain points of the river. Whether you want to go rafting, whether you want to go fishing, it's actually going to be pretty easy for you to get over to the river. So I used to go fishing kind of over by the Fair Oaks Bridge. Lots of stuff that you can do, lots of trails, lots of parks that are going to be kind of spread out throughout Orangevale, Fair Oaks, and Carmichael. But I grew up here. I love that area. And the nice thing is you get some little bit larger space. You get a little bit larger lot. Homes aren't going to feel all the same. And you are going to get a little bit better bang for your buck. Now, keep in mind that these are going to be primarily older homes that were built between 1940 and 1980s. Probably there's a couple of new pockets of neighborhoods, but for the most part, some of the trade-offs is going to be a lot of the neighborhood integrity is going to vary street to street. So we tell everybody to kind of, look at stuff online. If we've got to do video tours for you online, but make sure that we're seeing what actually the street looks like. You are going to deal with some older systems. That's pretty common. So we just definitely want to make sure that we inspect and don't assume. And the nice thing is you're going to have some good price options. So anything here in these three areas, you can find things in the low to mid 500s, but you can also find stuff that's going to be up in that seven-figure, $1 million plus range, especially stuff that's going to be close to the river. So if your weekend is biking, coffee, river loop, Carmichael, Fair Oaks, Orangevale, those are going to be sneaky good options, and they tend to hold their value when you buy on the right street. Now, bouncing over to the south side of Sacramento, again, just outside of those urban core, anchor neighborhoods is going to be two places that I absolutely love. One is going to be kind of that Pocket Greenhaven area. The other one's going to be the Vineyard area. Now, the Pocket Greenhaven area is going to sit just west of Interstate 5 right here. You're going to have the little pocket up north. You're going to have the big pocket down south. And then pretty much it's going to be bordered by the Sacramento River over here. So you're going to have quiet cul-de-sacs. You're going to have a lot of mature trees. You're going to have a couple of access points to the levee and different trails along the Sacramento River for daily walks. And housing can skew over here, right? So you can find some 70s and 80s homes. You can also find some kind of like updated homes that are going to be kind of built around these two kind of private custom communities, 2 stories kind of sprinkled in. But this area is going to be perfect for buyers who want calmer streets. They want access to the river, quick hop on I-5 if you got to get downtown and you want to be in the core of everything. But you're going to have a lot of single-story homes here. You're going to have some traditional 2-story, kind of the tri-level 2-story homes that you'll see in some of those early 70s, 60s, 70s homes. But you are going to get wider lots. Certain streets closer to the river may require flood insurance, but we'll definitely verify prior to getting in there. So prices in this area, you can definitely find some homes in the low 600s, but kind of expect that mid 600 range to be that starting point. And then some of these homes, especially in those 2 areas that are around those 2 little bodies of water, those can definitely get up into the 1.1 as they are gated communities and they're a little bit more private access. So depending on size, updates, and proximity to the river, some of these homes can range kind of wildly in price. Now, bouncing over to the east side of Sacramento, on the south side is going to be Vineyard. Now, Vineyard is a semi-rural kind of meets suburban kind of area. It's a mix of newer subdivisions. There's a couple over over there by Taylor Morrison, but then you're also gonna have some ranchettes with room for like RV boats, and you're gonna have a cool golf course over here called the Wild Hawk Golf Course. So the nice thing about this particular area, and it comes up for a lot of people, is a lot of these addresses feed into Elk Grove Unified School District. Obviously we want to verify the boundaries, but sometimes they're some of the better schools in Elk Grove Unified School District. So you get a little bit more space for your money. It kind of feels like Elk Grove, but it just has a Sacramento address, and you can find a lot of post 2000s to 2010s and even 2025 homes, you know, where you can get a brand new home by Taylor Morrison in Wild Hawk North, Wild Hawk South. They've got a couple of different communities over there, but a lot of different options, and you're, you know, kind of over there to some of the rural stuff. So it has a good feel. You get some acreage for some of your hobbies. You can find some bigger lots, and you're not super far out of the way where if you got to hop on Highway 99 for some of your commuting into Sacramento, it's probably about a 5 to 10 minute drive into town up to 99, so you can make it into Sacramento. Now, if you get really far out there to the east in Vineyard area, you might find some homes that are going to be on some rural properties that are going to be on septic and propane, maybe the occasional well, but definitely want to budget for expenses. The retail and dining options are a little bit less over here. A lot of times people are going to go from Vineyard down to Elk Grove or to some of the east side centers over there off of Grant Line or Wilton, just to kind of get a feel for it. But the nice thing is you can find some homes in the low 500s, especially some of those new construction homes, and then they can eclipse 900K based off of the finishes, acreage, ranchettes. But depending on the usable land, shop, barn, some of that stuff. The nice thing that I really love is this golf course is actually pretty nice. So this is a really nice golf course. It's just to the east of some of those Wild Hawk developments that are out there by Taylor Morrison. And they usually have some really good deals on golf, but also the new construction as well too. Now, finishing off on the last part of that spoke is going to be West Sacramento. Now, technically West Sacramento is going to be its own city with a riverfront energy, but you know, you are going to have everything that's going to be on the west side of Sacramento that's going to come all the way down here, and it's going to be bordered by the port. You have the river. The other cool thing is you have some pretty cool stuff like down there, like Sutter Health Park. The Sacramento River Cats play down there right now. The Oakland A's, Sacramento A's, they're playing down there right now too. So West Sacramento is a great option, and it's super quick if you need to get into downtown Sacramento. So you can get over via the Tower Bridge or the I Street Bridge. It's super easy to get across town. West Sacramento is best for the buyers who need that quick downtown access, and maybe they even want to do a scooter ride. Now, pockets are definitely going to vary in this city block by block. So drive it at night, drive it at the day. Make sure you get a good feel for the neighborhood here, because it's definitely going to change wildly based off of neighborhood, based off of where you're at. But you can often find some townhomes between 5 and 700K. You can also find some single family homes that kind of start off in the low 600s, and they can also go up to the mid to high 800s, low 900s. All right, now breaking out, we're gonna have really 3 or 4 different corridors that are going to kind of fall in alignment. Now, some of these areas that we talked about are in alignment with some of these corridors, so we'll kind of skip over some of those, and we'll go to the next range or the next bubble of really kind of those suburbs. So from here, we're gonna talk about the Interstate 80 corridor. So Interstate 80 is going to be that main freeway. It's gonna go from Sacramento all the way up into Auburn, through Reno, and go all the way to the East Coast. But here you're gonna find quality neighborhoods like Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, even some of those foothill towns we'll touch on a little bit later. But you're gonna find some master plan polished, serious shopping, parks. You're gonna have a couple of foothill gems that are gonna be right there. But first of all, let's talk about Roseville. Now, Roseville is going to be a suburban workforce. You're gonna have a lot of shopping, a lot of restaurants, tons of parks, top-rated youth sports, top-rated schools, neighborhoods from entry level all the way up to the custom stuff, right? So this is gonna be really good for families who want convenience, people who love retail shopping, a lot of restaurant access, especially chain restaurant. I mean, we got some local restaurants in Roseville as well too, but they just put in a Fleming's, they just put in a Fogo de Chao, you've got Ruth Chris. You really have everything in here, but Roseville is gonna be quick. One of the things that I absolutely love about moving to Roseville is it's just quick. I can go and I can do all my errands. I can knock out 10 different stops in probably an hour and a half, and I can be back on Sunday to watch the football game. So it's very nice. The other thing that I really like about Roseville is it also has a new construction section, which is going to be out here in West Roseville. Everything that's going to be west of Fittyment Road, you're still gonna have places like Winding Creek, Sierra Vista, Amaruso Ranch, a lot of those master plan communities. Placer 1 is gonna be coming up here pretty quick. So out there you can get larger floor plans, modern communities, fresh parks. Now the trade-off is West Roseville can be a little bit further to downtown. You've got some of those HOAs and Mellore's, but in Roseville, you can still find homes in the low to mid 500s, and then they can go up all the way to 1.2 million over here in kind of like unincorporated Roseville in Morgan Creek or some of those things. Now, as we zoom in a little bit further, we're gonna come up to Roseville's neighbor, which is going to be Rockland. Now, the nice thing about Rockland is going to be master plan, polished community. Think about, you know, communities kind of like Whitney Ranch, Whitney Oaks. You're gonna have some gated communities around golf courses. You're gonna have, you know, Whitney Ranch is gonna be a full master plan community that's gonna have a clubhouse, and it's gonna have such a community culture that a lot of people wish that they could duplicate it, replicate it in their own neighborhood. But it's definitely, my favorite thing about Rockland is it's gonna be well regarded for its public schools. So the nice thing is you could throw a dart at the map. You're probably gonna land in a great school district. You're probably gonna have a great elementary, middle, and high school, but same thing goes for a lot of our suburbs. That's one of the things that we're really well known for. But the nice thing about Rockland is everything is close by. So everything that Roseville has, Rockland pretty much has it as well too, because really the only divider that's going to separate Roseville from Rockland is going to be Highway 65. And so a lot of times we tell people you probably would cross over the freeway and they both look pretty similar and you wouldn't really know the difference between one or the other, but Rockland is going to have a lot of the same amenities that Roseville is going to have. Now, aside from the master plan communities like Whitney Ranch and Whitney Oaks, you're also going to have some really good existing, more established communities that are going to be kind of over in this South Whitney area, kind of over by where the old Sunset Whitney golf course used to be. You have some mature neighborhoods that aren't just the HOA Mellore's kind of new construction neighborhoods. So you get a little bit of both and you get a little bit of everything, but some of the newer neighborhoods like Whitney Ranch, you will still have HOAs and Mellore's and a lot of those master plan communities. And the price point in Rockland can start off a little bit higher in Roseville. So a lot of times you're gonna find some things that are gonna start off in the high 6s, low 7s, and then they can easily eclipse that $1.3 million range, depending on if you're getting new construction or something with a kind of a view lot, or you're in that gated community of Whitney Oaks. Now, moving up a little bit north, we're gonna have Lincoln. Lincoln is going to hold a very special place in my heart. You're gonna have Lincoln, the town. You're also gonna have kind of some unincorporated parts of Lincoln. Lincoln is really gonna be a little bit bigger than this. Let's kind of open it up to the whole zip code. But Lincoln is gonna go all the way out to Camp Far West. So you're gonna have parts of Lincoln that are gonna be new construction areas, 12 Bridges, Lincoln Crossing. You're gonna have the brand new Liberty, which is going to be, you know, kind of down here on the south side over by parts of Lincoln Crossing. You're gonna have Sorrento. You're gonna have all of the existing Lincoln, which is gonna be kind of like your numbered streets, you know, lettered and numbered streets that are gonna be around the main boulevard. And then you're also gonna have a couple of 55 and up in master plan communities like Sun City Del Webb. You're also gonna have Esplanade by Turkey Creek by Taylor Morrison that's actively being built out there. And you have Verdera. Verdera is a super special luxury community that's out in Lincoln that's private, it's guard gated, it's around a golf club, super nice, super high-end luxury homes. So Lincoln really has a lot of options for a lot of people. Now, the nice thing about Lincoln is you get a little bit bigger of a home for your money. You have a little bit of a quieter pace, a little bit more of that community feel. You have a lot of 55 and up options out here, and you're gonna have full amenities. So I will say the trade-off, we joked around about this at the beginning, but Highway 65 has been a nightmare, especially Highway 65 as you get into Interstate 80. It used to back up around Pleasant Grove. It started to back up a little bit more around Blue Oaks. Now it's starting to back up a little bit more around Sunset. So that commute, if you've got to go into downtown Sacramento, is not very fun. Or I used to do this a long time ago, but I used to work in Rancho Cordova, and that drive from Lincoln to Rancho Cordova, there is no easy way to get across. So while you can save a little bit of money up there and you can actually get a little bit more bang for your buck, you know, the downside is going to be that commute. The other side of it, Lincoln Crossing was our first area or our first community that really had that Mellore's that started to hit your pocketbook. So You know, this area plus some of these other areas, even homes that were built in the early 2000s, are going to have that Melrose. So a lot of these homes are going to start off in the mid 550 range. You could possibly even find some stuff in the high fours, but easily in Verdera you can get up to the 1.1, $1.2 million range if you're finding one of those luxury gated communities. Now next up is going to be our 50 corridor. So now we're going to shift over, and we touched on a lot of different things that are going to be along that 50 corridor, like Arden Arcade, Carmichael, and Fair Oaks. But as we're kind of climbing up that 50 corridor towards Placerville or South Lake Tahoe, you're going to have areas like Rancho Cordova, Folsom, and El Dorado Hills. So the cool thing is Rancho Cordova is another one of those areas that has some approachable new build zones that are going to be a little bit cheaper than Folsom or Folsom Ranch. El Dorado Hills, you're definitely going to get some views up there, and then Folsom Ranch is just always a popular one that you guys reach out to us about on the channel. So Rancho Cordova is going to be kind of that first major city that you're going to hit along Highway 50. It's also going to be close to Mather Airport. It's going to be close to the VA hospital. Sometimes you guys are getting relocated out here to be a part of that Veterans Administration hospital. You're going to have a good mix, but really Rancho Cordova is going to feel like two completely different cities. You're going to have Rancho Cordova that's going to be everything between the American River over here from the bridge all the way down to kind of the airport. And then you're going to have stuff that's going to be south of Douglas Road. And all this stuff south of Douglas Road is going to be the area that is where the new construction is being built at. So really you almost have two completely different cities. There's a lot of like industrial stuff that's going to be off of Sunrise Boulevard, kind of in between the two cities. So it almost separates the two from each other. And older Rancho Cordova is going to feel a little bit more established. You're going to have some older homes, older condos, older townhomes, older amenities, older strip malls. The stuff out in the newer part of Rancho, where you're going to have places like Anatolia, Sunridge, Stone Creek, you're going to have a lot of developers out there like Pulte and Tri-Point and Woodside Homes. You're going to have a lot of kind of disparity between the two, right? So older Rancho is going to feel a little bit more mature. Newer Rancho is going to feel a little bit more desolate. And they also don't have as many shopping or eateries out there. They have a grocery store and a couple of fast food chain restaurants, but not a whole lot of stuff out there. Now, the cool thing about Rancho Cordova is it is a great spot if you're trying to be budget savvy and you have to be along the Highway 50 kind of commuter corridor, right? So new construction can find the best price per square foot in this new construction area, and even parts of Rancho Cordova in the more existing or more established neighborhoods can also find a reasonably good price per square foot, right? But I will say the quality between the two areas are going to vary pocket to pocket, street to street. So you definitely want to know where you want to live at, try to drive the neighborhoods at daytime and nighttime, and really get a good feel of what's going to be right for you and your family. The downside to that new construction area is also going to have Melrose and HOA, which is pretty typical of all the new construction that we're talking about. But the nice thing is, like I said, price per square foot, you usually get the cheapest price per square foot and a decent lot size in kind of that Rancho Cordova area. So they do have homes that are kind of in that low 500K range, and they go all the way up to kind of that mid 800K range, you know, for most of that part. Now moving a little bit east, we have Folsom, and for whatever reason, Folsom is a massive powerhouse, massive request for you guys. It checks a lot of the boxes. You have lots of parks, you have the Johnny Cash Trail, you have historic district, you have strong school reputation, Folsom Lake Junior College, serious new construction that's happening in Folsom Ranch. You've got close proximity to Folsom Lake and Lake Natoma. Folsom is great for active families, trail junkies, anybody who wants, you know, new home with everything without losing any of the city conveniences. I like the proximity of Folsom Ranch to a lot of the amenities and a lot of the stuff. You're going to have everything, which is really going to be on the north side of Highway 50, and it's going to be super close to Folsom Ranch. Like, now a lot of the time, some of these builders built towards the outskirts of town, and it's very just far out there, and you're waiting for grocery stores to be developed, you're waiting for gas stations to be built, you're waiting for more amenities, restaurant options to be, you know, come out. This is right in proximity to all the things that you need. You've got a Costco on the other side, you've got a Whole Foods, you've got the Palladio, you've got 2 movie theaters, you've got a Lifetime, a Green Acres, you've got a ton of stuff that's just north of Highway 50, and it's perfect. Then you have really high quality established neighborhoods that are going to be some of my favorite, right? So first and foremost, I love Sutter Street. Sutter Street, Old Town Folsom. It is just a vibe that you've got to check out. But then you've got other places like American River Canyon, which is going to be on the north side of the river. You're going to have Empire Ranch, again, kind of back down here on the east side of Folsom, and then Broadstone. multi-builder villages inside of Folsom Ranch. Now, the trade-offs, you're gonna have some Mellore's and HOAs and some higher price points on the south side. It's going to feel like your dollar doesn't go as far, or the house isn't as big, or the price per square foot is more than, let's say, a neighbor like Rancho Cordova. But you also are gonna have lifestyle living. This is gonna be kind of one of the best areas for proximity to the lake, proximity to the water, paddleboarding, everything in between. So you will have some downsides. Folsom infrastructure and street system is a little confusing and funky, but as long as you got GPS, you should be good. Now, the price per square foot and the entry point to get into Folsom is going to be a little bit more. Expect to start off in kind of the low to mid 700 range, and then you can easily eclipse 1.5 million without blinking. But there are a lot of new builds out there. There are a lot of incentives that are out there. Definitely some things that we want to check out if you're thinking about making the move to Folsom. Now, last and one of my favorite on the list that we don't nearly talk about nearly enough is going to be El Dorado Hills. Now, El Dorado Hills is going to have some parts along the north that are going to bump up to the lake. You're also going to have a good established neighborhood that's going to be north of Highway 50, and then everything that's going to be south of Highway 50 is going to be a little bit more of a newer construction feel. But just to kind of hit some top neighborhoods, some top things, you've got Summit Village, which is just right here, super close. It's kind of on this peninsula that sits on the lake. Some of these homes have some killer views of Folsom Lake. Some of these homes have killer views of just the Sacramento Valley. Moving a little bit south, you're gonna have a community called Serrano. Serrano is gonna have a guard gated side and a non-guard gated side. The guard gated side, you're gonna see gorgeous 1 million plus homes in their custom estates. On the south side, you still have some really nice gated communities, tons of parks, tons of trails, still really high-end homes. And then on the south side, another neighborhood that I really love is Blackstone. Now, Blackstone is gonna be on the south side. It's gonna be a little bit more of a newer community. You do have a clubhouse here, you do have an HOA here, it is gated here, but you are gonna have a little bit more of that newer vibe and feel that was kind of built post 2010, all the way up. I think some of the later homes were 2022. Now, this is going to be your furthest in commuting distance to downtown Sacramento, but you're still gonna have some easy access to Highway 50, and you're gonna be able to get down into downtown Sacramento quick if you need to. Some of the stuff on the south side will still have those Mellore's and HOAs. Some of the stuff on the north side, probably not the Mellore's. Maybe you come across a neighborhood that has an HOA, but you know, some of the lots up here and the vibe and just being closer in proximity to nature, being closer in proximity to the foothills, you're also shaving off about 15-20 minutes on your way up to kind of South Lake Tahoe or any of the ski resorts on the 50 side, Heavenly, Sierra Tahoe, any of those. Now, the last and final corridor that we're going to touch on heading south is going to be the second largest city behind Sacramento, and that's going to be Elk Grove. Elk Grove is going to be kind of one of the biggest hitters, one of the most diverse neighborhoods and areas. It's going to be close in proximity if you got to get down to the Bay Area, but it's going to be really kind of family forward living, really shows up, parks everywhere. You're going to have strong youth sports here. This is going to be similar to a Roseville as far as one of those anchor cities, but it's just going to be bigger populated, more stuff, more spread out. Now, some of the neighborhoods that I really like, I still love Laguna West. I think I just love anything that's kind of backed up to the water, but over here on the east side, you're gonna have Laguna West. You have Stone Lake, you have some of these cool communities that are just kind of around that. I even love this community that's right there as well too. And then to the south, you're gonna have all of the new construction, so it's still one of those areas that has a ton of new construction in here. Over by the Sky River Casino, you're gonna have Taylor Morrison, New Home Co., KB Homes, Woodside's out there. A lot of builders, Beezer, you know, a lot of homes that are being built right now. Madera Ranch, you're also gonna have an Esplanade 55 and up community that's coming out there as well too. And then you actually have a little bit of kind of like the ranch rural properties over here and kind of like this Sheldon area, kind of Grant Line Road in this little triangle. And you can find some pretty cool acreage properties out here. So if you want to do a little bit of a homesteading, you want to do chickens, you want to do kind of whatever as it relates to growing your own food, or heck, even you want to have cattle or wineries or whatever, you can grow a lot of stuff. California is great for plants, it's great for growing, it's great for agriculture. It's probably why Sacramento is the farm to fork capital of the world. But Elk Grove has kind of really 3 or 4 different vibes, different subcultures of neighborhoods. Each one is going to have different proximity or access. So obviously Laguna West is going to be a little bit closer to I-5. Some of the stuff along kind of the new construction route is going to be a little bit closer to Highway 99, which is also going to be your furthest point south of Elk Grove. And then the Sheldon kind of rural area is going to feel a little bit further out there, but you're still not too far away from Highway 99. Now, I know we always get crap for not mentioning some of these honorable mentions, but we're gonna break out a little bit further out beyond that suburb bubble, and we're gonna start talking about kind of some foothills and some honorable mentions. So we're gonna talk about the I-80 foothill corridor, we're gonna talk about the Highway 50 foothill corridor, and we're gonna talk about the I-80 West kind of stuff towards Collegetown, Davis, and things like that. So we didn't talk about Granite Bay too much. Granite Bay is another one of those communities that kind of provides that lake life luxury living, but Granite Bay, Loomis, Newcastle, Penryn, all the way up towards Auburn, even as you go up towards Colfax being kind of that end point, you're gonna have kind of like that mountain adjacent lake style living with weekend access to rivers, trails. You know, you're gonna have a lot of mature trees, you're gonna have a lot of character, you're gonna have some luxury, you're gonna have some real seasons, warm summers, crisp falls, cool winter mornings, but really gonna be great for like hikers, cyclists, boaters, anyone who's wanting to kind of chase that Sierra getaway lifestyle. Now, Granite Bay is gonna be the furthest south or kind of the lowest point, and then it's all gonna climb up towards Auburn, Colfax, but some of these places you are gonna be dealing with longer commutes to the core of Sacramento. You're gonna have a lot more weather variance. And some of these homes, whether you're in Granite Bay, Loomis, Penryn, Newcastle, Auburn, some of these homes you might be on parcels that have wells or septic or propane tanks. So we definitely want to budget for some of those inspections and for some of those maintenance. Now, there is going to be a wide spread along this 80 corridor, depending on if you're in the foothills or if you're kind of down in Granite Bay. So some of the lower priced homes can be in kind of the mid fives, low sixes, but they can definitely break that 7-figure price point, especially if you're looking at stuff in Granite Bay, being that it's one of the top school districts. Now, if we go along to the 50 corridor, starting off in Cameron Park, going to Shingle Springs, Placerville, and heck, all the way up into Pollock Pines, those are going to be some next honorable mentions that are going to primarily be like in nature in the foothills. Now, Cameron Park, I love Cameron Park. They've got a really cool neighborhood down here called Cameron Park Estates. We featured it on the channel where you can find a lot of like unique air park homes, a lot of hangars on your driveway. You've got a lot of really cool stuff. Then you bounce up to Shingle Springs. You're gonna have some rolling acreages. You're gonna have some ranchettes. You can do a little bit of homesteading there as well too, get some chickens. And then you kind of come up to Placerville. Now, Placerville is gonna feel a little bit similar to Auburn in the sense that it's going to be a kind of a foothold or a mountain town. It's like one of the last places that you charge or you stop before you head up towards South Lake Tahoe. Placerville is gonna have a little bit more of like kind of that grittiness, historic charm, and a little bit less on kind of like the amenities that Auburn has. Auburn has a lot of like just convenience and shopping that is similar to like Roseville. Placerville is gonna feel a little bit grittier in that sense. So true historic Main Street, you know, wine country on the weekends. But you know, this area for 50 and even for the 80 side is gonna be best for buyers who kind of want that small town rhythm, quick access to either 50 or 80 to get back to Folsom or Sacramento or Roseville on the other side. And you're gonna be farther east to shorten down those trips to Tahoe. So warmer summers up here as well too. Delta breeze, probably not very much of an existence here. And you're gonna have some septic, propane, and both areas are really gonna be prone to consideration for fire insurance. So just keep that in mind as you start looking in towards the foothills. The prices are lower, but sometimes the insurance rate can be a little bit higher. So we definitely wanna check and make sure that we're not getting into something too deep. Now, last, we wanna kind of shift over to the west side of town, and we're gonna talk about Davis and Woodland. Now, Davis is going to be that classic university town. It's gonna be located west of Sacramento, west of the Causeway on Interstate 80 as you're heading down towards San Francisco. You're gonna have bike lanes everywhere, farmers markets, and you're gonna have a very distinctive community vibe and feel. Just north of Davis, you'll have Woodland. Woodland is going to have a little bit more of kind of that historic charm and value, but both are gonna have quick access to their freeways, 5 for Woodland and 80 for Davis. Now, Davis is gonna have ties to a lot of frequent Bay Area trips, smaller town rhythm, great food, great farmers markets. Davis is going to command a premium price for size. You've had a lot of investors come in noticing the fact that UC Davis is one of the top schools in the country, and they've bought up a lot of the properties and tried to turn them into investment properties. Woodland, on the other hand, is just gonna be about 10-15 minutes north, and that town is gonna vary block to block. So you definitely wanna get to know your streets, but the price structure in Davis is going to be somewhere between 850 to 900K, all the way up to 1.5 million for traditional single family homes, tract housing. Woodland, you're gonna have more space, you're gonna have a little bit more bang for your buck. but you're gonna be able to save a little bit more money in Woodland than you would in Davis. Now, before we land this plane, one of the things that I wanna talk about is new construction. There's gonna be 6 areas that we kind of mentioned a little bit throughout this video that are gonna be the hottest zones for new construction. Sacramento obviously has different pockets of where they're building new construction, but if we go around the map real quick, some of the areas that are gonna have the hottest new construction, first and foremost is going to be Folsom. You have Folsom Ranch. You have a couple of different builders out here. It's going to feel a little bit thinner for the most part right now because some of the builders are finishing up some projects, but we had Taylor Morrison out there for a while, Tri-Point, Toll Brothers, Woodside, Shawwood. Each one is going to have slightly different product, but the builders are going to range anywhere from mid to low 7s all the way up to $1.5, $2 million with that Shawwood product that you guys have loved on this channel. Moving over to West Roseville, you're going to have a little bit larger home, a little bit bigger network of builders out there, and you're gonna have a wider variety of price points. You're gonna have some homes that start off in the mid 550s and go all the way up to the mid 800s, and you're gonna have a lot of builders out there. You've got Placer One, you've got JMC, you've got Taylor Morrison's coming back to the area. You've got Woodside, Richmond American. You've got a lot of different builders in Roseville, and the price points are gonna start off kind of in that mid to high 500 range and go all the way up. Now, switching over to Rockland, not a ton of stuff happening in Rockland. Whitney Ranch is primarily that main area that we're seeing a lot of the new construction at. You've got some JMC builders, you've got a couple of KBs down at the bottom, and Anthem is out there finishing up the final development called Finale, which is amazing. And then Lincoln up here towards the north. So some stuff down at 12 Bridges, you've got Century, you've got a KB community down there, and then you have the brand new Liberty community that we featured on the channel about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Liberty is gonna have Meritage, it's gonna have Woodside, and it's gonna have Richmond American, and it's gonna have its own private clubhouse that's gonna be dedicated just to that particular community. Should be just out here over to the left-hand side of Lincoln Crossing, but that should be an awesome community. Some other notable mentions out here as well too is you do have a Taylor Morrison that's gonna be out here by Turkey Creek, and you're also gonna have Elliott Homes that are gonna be out off of 193. So both of those products are gonna be spectacular. And then moving all the way to the last area is going to be Elk Grove, where we start, where we kind of just finished with the corridor, right? So Elk Grove, you're gonna have Madera Ranch, Beezer, Taylor Morrison for the 55 and up and just the regular product. You're gonna have New Home Co., Lennar's out there, KB Homes out there. So tons of different options. All of these builders are gonna have a wide variety of incentives, price incentives, cost cutting, anything that you kind of think of. All of these builders are doing it as we speak. So you've seen the corridors. Now let's match the lifestyle to the neighborhood clusters in the next couple of minutes. So I'm gonna fire off a couple of quick recommendations just so you can circle some of your top 2 or 3 fits so you can ignore the noise. So walkability and nightlife, think Midtown, downtown, East Sacramento edges, West Sac, Bridge District, potentially even Campus Commons. You want parks, superior schools, and suburban ease, think Roseville, Rockland, Elk Grove, Folsom, El Dorado Hills. Bigger house for your money, maybe Lincoln, West Roseville, Rancho Cordova, and some of the newer tracks in North Natomas. Views plus semi-rural, you're talking Granite Bay, Loomis, Newcastle, El Dorado Hills, Sheldon on acreage. Rivers, trails, and lifestyle, Fair Oaks, Carmichael, Gold River, American River Canyon, potentially even the Pocket Greenhaven area. Quick airport access, Natomas, West Sacramento, downtown, Midtown. Bay Area hybrid commuters, Davis, West Sac, Natomas. So there's gonna be a lot of different areas, and whatever one of those top 2 or 3 hot buttons kind of touched on you, you definitely wanna make sure that we're focusing on those specific areas and those specific corridors. Now, the biggest thing to remember is that no city has a perfect area. There's only gonna be a perfect area for you and your family when you're making the move here. So we're gonna wanna lock in your corridor, we're gonna wanna figure out your 5 different sliders, and we're gonna wanna build that short list of 2 or 3 different areas when you guys come and make your recon trip that we're actually gonna fit your lifestyle and make it the best move ever. So if you guys are thinking about making the move to Sacramento, or if you're still toying around with the idea of coming to Sacramento Metro and just checking it out, we would love to connect with you guys. So that phone number is gonna be popping up. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, and we absolutely love when you guys reach out to us. So give us a phone call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one.